What is up, guys? This week's drone tip of the week is to use your grid lines and center marker. So the reason you'll want to have the grid lines and center marker turned on your drone is number one, for compositional reasons. The grid lines create a thirds grid, split the image into thirds, both horizontally and vertically, and for some reason dictated, I think, by mathematics, when you put important parts of your shot, for example, the horizon or some kind of a subject, on one of those thirds lines, it makes the composition of your shot look more pleasing. And some specific tips for that: many times I like to put my horizon either on the lower thirds line if I want to emphasize the sky, or on the upper thirds line if I want to emphasize the ground. And it will strengthen your composition even more if you put your subject on the intersection between those horizontal and vertical thirds lines. And the center marker is both useful for composition and for lining up shots. For composition, it's great if you want to have something exactly centered up in your frame. You can just put it right on that center marker. And it's also great, for example, if you're going to be flying out through a tight space, to put that center marker right out into the clear and open so that you can see that where you're going to be flying to is clear of any obstacles. And it's also great for lining up a shot, for example, a top-down shot where you're going to pull up. You can just put that center marker right over your subject and be sure that it is centered up in the frame, and will make a good shot. So to turn those center markers on, we'll get our drone turned on here and grab our remote. And as you can see here, I already have my grid lines and center marker turned on, but to enable those, we'll just go here into the settings to camera, and we'll scroll on down here to where we have grid lines. We have our thirds grids, our center marker, and there's also these diagonal lines, which also kind of give you a center point, as well as diagonal lines. I personally don't really use diagonal lines that much. I much prefer to have just my grid lines and center marker turned on, because I feel like that gives me the most useful guides and doesn't clutter up the frame too much. And there's your drone tip of the week. Subscribe to get next week's drone tip.